Hi everyone, welcome to Learning is Fun with Miss. In today's lesson, we will learn about equivalent fractions. An equivalent fraction is a fraction that is the same as another fraction with a different denominator. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. Now you might be wondering how that can be possible. So let's dig deeper. 1/2. If we decide to multiply the numerator by a certain number, in this case 2, then we must multiply the denominator by that same number. So 1 times 2 is 2 and 2 times 2 is 4. Now let's look at this diagram here. This circle is cut up into two parts. The total parts that it is cut up into is the denominator, and the one shaded part is the numerator. Here, this circle is cut up into 4 equal parts. And this cut up total parts are the denominator here. And the two shaded parts is the numerator. So we have 1/2 and 2/4. And the 2/4 is equivalent to the 1/2 of the circle here. Therefore, 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4. Equivalent fractions have the same value. Even though they may look different, they are fractions that name the same amount or part. For example, 1/2, 2/4, 3/6, and 4/8 are all equivalent fractions. Again, 1/2, 2/4, 3/6, and 4/8 are all equivalent fractions. Notice that each of the shaded areas are equivalent to one another. 1/3 and 3/9 are equivalent to one another because 1 times 3 is 3 and 3 times 3 is 9, making these two fractions equivalent to one another. 1/4 and 3/12 are equivalent to one another because 1 times 3 is 3 and 4 times 3 is 12, making these two fractions, 1/4 and 3/12, equivalent to one another. 2/3 and 8/12. Well, 2 times 4 is 8 and 3 times 4 is 12, making 2/3 and 8/12 equivalent to one another. 3/4, if we take 3 and multiply it by 3, we get 9. If we take 4 and multiply it by 3, we get 12. So 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12. 1/2. If we take 1 and multiply it by 5, we get 5. And if we take 2 and multiply it by 5, we get 10. So 1/2 is equivalent to 5/10. In order to find an equivalent fraction, you can multiply a fraction by any number, as we have already seen. Keeping in mind that whichever number you multiply the denominator by, you have to multiply the numerator by that same number. So 4/8. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 4/8 equals 8/16. It checks. It's an equivalent fraction. Even when they are being divided by a number, the equivalent fractions end up having the same quotient. For example, 1/2. If we take 2 and divide by 1, well, we can see that 2 doesn't go into 1. So we have to add a decimal, add a 0. Whenever we add a decimal in here, we must add it in our quotient section as well. So 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. This is our dividend, divisor, quotient. Dividend, divisor, quotient. Now here, 4 is divided by 2. And 4 doesn't go into 2, so we must add a decimal and a 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. We have to add the decimal up here in the quotient section as well. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. Next, we have 16 divided by 8. Now, 16 doesn't go into 8 evenly or at all. So we have to add a decimal and a 0. And we add the decimal up here in the quotient section again. 16 goes into 80 evenly 5 times. 16 times 5 is 80. 80 minus 80 is 0. As you can see, all of these quotients are the same, so they're all equivalent fractions to one another. Here again, we have a few more examples. And then we have 1/2, 2/4, 4/8, 8/16, and 16/32 are all equivalent fractions because they were multiplied by 2. The numerator and the denominator were multiplied by 2 each time, giving us these equivalent fractions. So again, you can make equivalent fractions by multiplying or dividing the numerator and denominator by the same number. If we take 1/3 and multiply it by 2 in the numerator and 2 in the denominator, we get 2/6. If we take 2/6, multiply it by the numerator and denominator, multiply it by 2, we get 4/12. And then if we multiply the numerator and denominator again, we get 8/24. And if we multiply it yet again by 2, the numerator and the denominator, we get 16/48, making all of these fractions equivalent to one another. Now it's your time to practice. Take out your notebook, pause the video, and let's do these problems. We will check the results in a few minutes. Okay, now that you have had some time to practice, let's go over the answers. So here we have 2/2. And this circle, there are 2 parts, which is the denominator, and then 2 shaded parts, which is the numerator. So if we take this fraction, multiply it by 2, we get a 4 in the numerator. And if we take the denominator, multiply it by 2, we get a 4 in the denominator. As you can see, this circle here has 4 equal parts, and that's our denominator here. And then the 4 parts are shaded. That's our numerator here, which equals 1 whole. The whole circle is shaded. That means 1 whole circle is shaded. So these two fractions are equivalent to one another. Next, we have 4/8. So we have 4 parts shaded, which is the numerator, 8 total parts, which is the denominator. If we divide 4 by 4, we get 1. And if we divide 8 by 4, we get 2. So 4/8 is equal to 1/2. And these two fractions are equivalent. Next, we have 4 total parts, which is the denominator here, 3 shaded parts. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 over 4 and 6 over 8 are equivalent fractions. Then we have 2/3. 3 parts total, 2 parts shaded. 2/3. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 2/3 and 6/9 are equivalent fractions. The next problem we have is 4 over 12. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 4/12 and 2/6 are equivalent fractions. 1/5 is equivalent to 2/10 because 1 times 2 is 2 and 5 times 2 is 10, making 1/5 and 2/10 equivalent fractions. In today's lesson, we learned about equivalent fractions. Thank you for watching and learning with me. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.